Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Blaise XPerience once again. I am your host Derreck as always, and you are joining us for episode 89 today. And today is going to be our first time in a little while going back into Dead by Daylight. We actually, we usually do an episode per month, but things have been kind of hectic lately, so it's been a little bit longer than that, but we are getting into our killer rankings episode. So we're going to talk about some killer rankings, and in addition to that, we do have a little bit of news to touch on, so we're going to talk about the little bit of news there and, kind of how we feel about that and go through that a little bit. So should be a really fun episode. But before we introduce our guests, there's a couple of news items at the top of the show. Our next podcast is going to be next Saturday, and it's probably going to be a State of Decay 2 episode again. So we're probably going to be going back to some State of Decay 2 content next Saturday. I'm not exactly sure on the topic yet. There's a lot of topics I want to cover still, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to decide to research and go with. But we will have some content there for you. And our next stream is going to be on Sunday, 12 to 4 Eastern, with Borderlands 2. Based on where we are in the story right now, that might be actually the ending of Borderlands 2 for us. I do have a stream scheduled Monday, 12 to 4 for Borderlands 2 as well. But if we do end up ending the game on Sunday, then on Monday what I would do is I'd play Tales from the Borderlands instead. So basically we're just going to keep going with the Borderlands story, and the next part of that story is going to Tales from the Borderlands before we go back to the Commander Lilith DLC for Borderlands 2. So basically Sunday and Monday is going to be Borderlands content. It just depends whether I finish Borderlands 2, whether both streams are going to be that, or whether one stream is going to be Tales from Borderlands. And then Tuesday, we have our State of Decay doubleheader once again. So 12 to 4 Eastern, we're going to have State of Decay 2. And then also that same night later on, I'll be back from 8 to 12 Eastern for State of Decay 2. So State of Decay doubleheader where we do 2 different streams on it. But that being said, that's the news we have at the top of the show here. So without further ado, I will introduce our guest. He's been on the podcast several times now. He's a great friend of mine, awesome Mixer streamer, one that you definitely need to follow. And he is kind of our Dead by Daylight expert here on the podcast because he knows a lot more about the game than I do, but I just try to, keep up as much as I can. So please welcome back to the podcast, ACC. How are you?
Hey, buddy. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, always glad to have you here. And, it's been a little bit longer than I wanted to, so I apologize to you as well. That's been, I think it's been like about 6 weeks now since we talked about it, but, we're getting back into it, so.
I forgive you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I've always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to do this episode, but, State of Decay Heartland DLC came out, and, when stuff like that comes out, I mean, State of Decay is my bread and butter, and I do have to cover that first and foremost, so.
No, I get it. Family first, man.
Exactly. But, I know you've been playing some more Dead by Daylight since we last talked, and, since we last talked, we actually had, Ghostface officially released, so how have you been enjoying, Ghostface so far?
I absolutely love Ghostface. I think, definitely one of the top tier killers in the game. Simply for the fact that he has the ability to one-hit down you like Michael Myers per se, but instead of jumping to 3 tiers, it's a stock tier. If he fully rounds that bar, he will be able within a minute's time to have a chance to down you with 1 hit, which is super cool. He's got great speed. I just think they did a great job making such a great killer that I didn't even want in the game, but I've turned back and seen the light, so it's great. Yeah, it's great to see a great killer out there.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me, which this will influence my rankings somewhat, when we get to those after, but unfortunately for me, I still haven't faced him as a survivor yet. I've been trying, to get in some games and hope that he comes up, but I haven't faced him as a survivor yet, so I am kind of bummed out that I haven't faced him yet, but, I have, seen him on a few streams and stuff, and from what I hear from you and, other people, he definitely seems pretty deadly.
Well, I gotta tell you, I've been streaming it all week. I'm doing a whole DBD marathon. The love is back, like full-fledged. They've done a lot of fixes, especially with the loading lobby where it's instant, for survivors now, which is great. Not so much for killers, but at least for survivors. We've been playing it, and I've been helping out a lot of people that are new, that are my regular viewers. Get in there. We've been seeing a lot of Ghostface. He's all over the place.
I guess I'm just unlucky then. I don't know.
We're gonna have to get you in there. I gotta get you in there. I'll be on that all week. So I got to get you in there, and you'll definitely see Ghostface. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that'll be great. I mean, I know fairly recently I actually ended one game I was playing early, and you jumped in with me and we played some DVD. That was kind of fun, actually.
That was a super fun night. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, because I was playing. I think I was doing our Game Pass Kingdom New Lands, but I wasn't really feeling it after a couple hours. I'm like, screw it. Let's like finish off the stream with some DVD instead. Let's do this. So
Yeah, someone on that stream was like, you know what? I got a good idea. DVD. I wonder who that was.
yeah, some guy just came into my chat, and I'm like, hey, that's not a bad idea. Let's do it. Why not?
Yeah, and it was a great night.
Yeah. We had a lot of really fun games, and we did fairly well. I think it was we came up against the Wraith that kind of screwed us up. The Wraith screwed us up for like 2 really bad games, but other than that, facing that Wraith, we seemed to do really well.
Yeah, it was definitely good. We had a lot of great games there, man. And you were in the closet less.
I was, yeah.
I had to throw that out there.
I think I finally gotten over that. So, I'm not hiding in the, closets anymore. I'm not hiding in there with the hatchets. Yeah.
As much. Yeah.
True.
I love it.
True. And I at least wasn't the first one found all the time either. We actually had Tandas with us, and Tandas is always the first guy found pretty much. So.
Oh, yeah, the tryhard guy.
Yeah.
He made it fun.
Yes. Yeah, he still plays a lot of Borderlands 2 for me, but that's the first time I played DVD with him in a while, and he definitely got found, very quickly, very often, and I was always like the second person hooked, so I'm not like, toot my own horn too much, but we had you, me, Tandas, and Zombie, and it was always you and Zombie left alive at the end. I was always the second one to die, so.
It's always great to be not the first death consecutively in a game. You don't want to make that record.
Yes, exactly.
Always being the first one. And I think Tandas took that title unanimously on that one. So we still had a lot of fun, though.
But hey, Zombie seemed to hang in there with you pretty well. He was always last one alive with you, and he seemed to do pretty well with you. So
he does. When he does okay, he plays it once in a blue, but when he plays it, he does his best to live, I'll tell you that. He's great to play with.
Exactly. No, I give him a lot of shit, because I love him, but, Zombie, you definitely are pretty good, at all the games you play with me, so I do appreciate you jumping in there.
Yeah, he's fun to play with.
Absolutely. That's why I gotta give him shit,
Hey, there would be no love if there was no poop. All
exactly.
Right, so that's it, exactly. He scoops your poop, Zombie. Take it and fill it well. You'll be all right.
He gives it back too, so it's a nice circle of love.
Tit for tat. That's it.
Definitely.
That's great.
But we did have some new news for DVD as well, and it was revealed that Freddy is finally getting that rework that we've been wanting for a while. So it's not official yet. It's being tested in the PTB. But we do have, kind of the notes on what it is supposed to possibly be, and we'll see if this is officially finalized. But, how excited are you for this to be official live?
I've been waiting for this since the first week of launch of Freddy, when it was a complete nightmare to know that he was so weak and pathetic. It's a great killer with so much potential, and from what I've seen so far, I got to look at the PTB a little bit today, this morning before we get started, and I got to tell you, it's no secret. I'll tell you now, when we're doing our killer rankings, Freddy is last. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
He is the worst killer in the game as of right now. Now looking at the PTB, I think he's going to be one of the top killers with the abilities he has and what he can do now. I am super excited because, believe it or not, he is the worst killer currently, but he was one of my favorites to play with because I just love his overall style. So I'm super pumped for this.
Yeah, it does suck like having him be so bad because I've always been a big Freddy fan, and like being such a big fan of him, it's like, oh man, they made him that bad, like so.
Pretty horrible, man. But they've definitely rebounded. People are going to cry that he's a bit OP. I don't think so. I think you cried for something better, that he was too weak, made fun of it. Don't cry. that he's great and going to be a pain in the butt. So it's going to be great.
I mean, that's the story all the time, though. People cry if a character's too overpowered. They cry if they're too underpowered. So basically, the only ones they're not kind of crying about are the ones that are like, in the middle. So.
Well, I think what people are going to be concerned about with him, he has an ability called snares. So you're put in micro sleep, and for 60 minutes, you'll be in micro sleep until the full minute passes, then you'll be put into the dream state as of right now. Now, he unlocks something called snares. Snares are an ability where he can drop traps down almost like the hag does, where, if you run into them, you can teleport. Well, this will slow you down, almost like toxicity when, the clown throws a toxic gas at you. Or, if you add an add-on, instead of using that blood snare that's on the ground he can put down, it is pallets. He can put fake pallets down.
That is the coolest thing to me. The fake pallets,
Yes.
I love that idea. That's such a cool idea.
It is so good. It is so cool. You'll have no idea. As soon as you drop it, it drops into blood.
Like, oh, shit.
It blows up. And there's Freddy finishing off the kill. And you're like, oh, my leg! It's just going to be so good to see. Super excited. He looks great. To be able to hit you immediately now. They did a great job. So far, what I see on the PTB, great job.
Yeah, we can kind of get into it now a little bit, but I mean, what you mentioned with pallets, that's the coolest thing for me is that he would be the only killer now that can actually make fake pallets and, place those down because you're running by oh, screw you, Freddy, I'll just drop this pallet. Oh, shit. No, damn, it's fake.
Right. The closest thing to it is the doctor. When you get to the tier 3 state or if you're running or 2 at certain add-on, you'll get the fake pallets that are laying there for you to leap over. No, this is different. It's as if you can pull it down, which you can, but it'll blow up in blood, meaning, there's no coverage. You're going to get hit.
Right.
I love it. Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. And he also can teleport. So if you blow a gen, and he knows where it is or the vicinity, if he's pointing directed, he can actually teleport to that generator and get you from there. So super, super cool stuff.
Yeah, it definitely seems cool, and I've watched some YouTube videos on this, and I found some, text on it as well, and credit goes to Marsharko on Reddit. I'm not sure who this person is, but they kind of wrote down, what they gathered from it and what apparently the devs have said from some of this. So, if some of this is untrue, then I do apologize on that, but this is apparently what they're saying, part of what the dev said. So, there's 2 main sections to his power, Sleep Cycle and Dream Ability. Sleep Cycle is a passive power. Dream Ability is an active power. And apparently the devs have mentioned several times, this is still a work in progress. One key point is that they're thinking about potentially making the Dream Snares or Dream Pallets not a Dream Ability, but an add-on instead. So that's one thing I definitely wanted to note, ACC, because apparently that's a possibility that they're going to be add-ons instead of an ability.
The pallets are add-ons. It's the snares that you automatically get, which is like a little blood pool that you run over will slow you down and you'll scream. It'll be like little traps. That will be your default. But as of the other things like the pallets and stuff, yes, those are add-ons.
Right, but I'm just saying that apparently the devs said they are thinking about making the snares a possible add-on instead as well, so it's still a work in progress. So
work in progress. That'll be interesting to see what the final product will be. Yeah.
But Sleep Cycle, though, it involves 3 stages of effective sleepiness, starting with micro sleep. Survivors now passively fall asleep. The killer does not target them with sleepiness, which I think is a really cool idea that they can actually, fall asleep just generally now. And in micro sleep, the survivor periodically sees Freddy appear and disappear in the distance, like an apparition or a ghost. The beginning phase of Sleep Cycle was mentioned to be 60 seconds long. And the devs mentioned this power being helpful in chases due to the great mind game potential. As Freddy is a chasing survivor, he will continuously phase in and out of reality until he is very close. Only within a tight-knit range from a survivor's perspective will he lock into the real world and stop disappearing intermittently. So basically only when he's right on top of you is when you're going to know exactly where he is. So the closer Freddy gets to you, the more real he is, which makes sense actually. And then in deeper stages of sleep, it suggests that Freddy becomes more real and solid, but this wasn't outright said. It was also mentioned that Freddy can directly attack any survivor at any stage, no more 7 seconds of God mode for the survivors. which is awesome because, that's one thing that you were mentioning that, like, basically the current Freddy, you start the game and pretty much the survivors have, nothing to worry about for the first, like, apparently 7 seconds of the game.
Yeah, that was the thing.
And another thing that was apparently said, the heartbeat in Lullaby has swapped. In Deep Sleep, you will hear the iconic, creepy lullaby as Freddy stalks closer to his prey. And when you're awake, you would hear the heartbeat as you would with any other killer. So that's interesting. Is that something you think is a cool change, or do you like that change at all, or?
I like it a lot. I think it's really good. It changes the dynamics, so it's like when you're put in a full dream state, because I think the majority of the time you're going to be micro sleeping. Right now in the PTB, it seems when he hits you, when you're in micro sleep, it automatically puts you in a dream state. I don't know if that's something they're going to hold on to, or if it's a glitch right now, but it's so cool to have that when you're in the full dream state. Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that they did it that way, and I think it makes sense because when you're in the dream state, that's when you're probably going to hear his lullaby. So it makes sense to me.
Non-directional too, so it's
exactly
gonna be really good. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're just going to hear it and not know where he's coming from. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what's cool is that basically, unless he's right on top of you, you're not going to know exactly where he is.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the dream abilities a little bit. There's dream snares. These are interactive objects the killer places in the ground. So think of it like a trapper's trap, basically. But the time is taken to set up the objects on the ground. No visual was revealed, but it was stated that only affects sleeping survivors. If they enter its radius, they are slowed down for a set amount of time. So basically, it's like what the trapper puts down, but it has the effect of what the clown does, what you said, where it slows you down. And from what I saw in videos, it seems like the consensus right now is that this is going to take virtually no time for Freddy to put down. So he can literally just drop it anywhere and kind of roll on by. So it's not going to, 1 second. So it's going to be very, very quick for him to put down. So it's not going to take him as long as the hag takes to put down a trap or the trapper takes to set up a trap. So it seems like it's going to be very quick for him. And we also talked about the dream palettes, which similar to the Doctor's Madness, but application seems to be different. It only affects fully asleep survivors. These fake palettes explode in blood when interacted with and are placed by hand by the killer. Awake survivors do not see the palettes. So that is really interesting, and I think these dream palettes are going to really change up the game a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a great, definitely different, and a game changer, I think. So it'll definitely keep survivors on their toes, and he's going to be great and fun to play with, and I can't wait to play him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be so much fun to play with, and I don't own him yet, but I might have to get him just to test him out when this change happens.
Oh yeah, I've had him prepared for this for some time. I prestiged him just to get his bloody hand. I've got the perks I want. I've waited so long, so long for this to happen.
It's coming.
He's one of my favorites, one of my favorite killers. So I'm super excited to add another killer to my arsenal because I will be going full-fledged for killer ranks on the reset starting Saturday. So I'm super excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
But we do have one other ability too that you sort of mentioned, the teleport. And basically this is Freddy no longer targets survivors with his tagging ability, but generators. He can disappear and materialize beside the selected generator. From the survivor's perspective, he disappears, blood starts spurting from the generator, and Freddy slowly transpires from thin air beside the gen. This ability has a cooldown and is represented by a power bar similar to the Spirit and Legion. So that seems really interesting. And do you think it's going to work similar to how the Hag teleports, or do you think it's going to be a little bit different than that?
By what it looks like, he's, from what I've seen, because I was looking at the dev stream when they were showing a clip of it, blood will spewge out of the generator, so you'll be able to know right off the bat that he now will slowly come from the ground and submerge up. I think that's a big thing, especially if he's randomly just gonna check gens. It's almost like he'll have a fast, quick ability, almost like Hillbilly, not like him, but in terms of being able to pinpoint a gen and teleporting there quickly, he'll be able to spot and check gens. So that's gonna be it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be super fun, man.
Yeah, some of the combinations that you can actually put with this too are gonna be very interesting. Like, imagine if you have that ability, and then you also use that perk that I believe the Plague came out with, where you can block some gens at the start of the game.
Yeah,
that's gonna be crazy.
I think Ghostface, I believe it's Tremors, Trembling Tremors. where he picks up a survivor and it will lock. The entity will block generators for about 16 seconds. That will be something useful to use. I think that's going to be a great add-on to his arsenal.
Yeah, and imagine if you did that one with the Plagues one, where it blocks some gens at the start of the game,
Yeah,
along with Hex Ruin, and then
So
you
much
have this
pain.
generation teleport thing. Like,
So
basically,
much
it's
pain.
going to be like the gen blocking Freddy. Like, you could have a whole build just based on blocking gens with Freddy, and
He
that'd
will
be a really
definitely
fun
be
build to try.
defensive, that's for sure. He'll be a defensive mark. Yeah, he'll be no longer an end game build. That's what he currently is for me now, right? This is you need it. Remember me and like no one escapes death. But that would definitely be quite lethal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I kind of wonder too, what would the fourth perk of that be? Because I mean, you'd have like the 2 gen blocking perks, you'd have your other one we mentioned there, and then maybe you put like a Noed. Yeah, we have the Ruin, the 2 gen blocking perks, and then like maybe you put the Noed on there as well, and that'd be like a gen blocking Freddy build. That'd be kind of interesting to try.
It'd be interesting. I'd probably go barbecue and chili. After
That might work too. Yeah,
when you hook them, you'll get you'll get to know where the vicinity is, where they're at, what
true,
they're doing.
because then when you hook it, it's going to block the gens, and then when they unhook, you know where they are. So yeah,
exactly, and you'll be able to teleport to the nearest gen to get to them. So, a lot of pain.
yes,
I love
that'd be a very defensive build. So
yeah, it's gonna be something.
But there are some other changes too, and it's waking up and stuff like that. So survivors who are asleep no longer suffer from the reduced action speed penalty. Survivors who are asleep are now woken up by all failed skill checks. Additionally, there is now an interactive object on the map called Dream Clocks. These objectives looked like a desk covered with junk, such as piles on paper on top, with an old-timey alarm clock standing as the main piece. Survivors are able to interact with these objects for a guaranteed way to wake up. And basically, this is sort of like the pigs, jigsaw boxes. So it's just like an object that you interact with in the game, and you wake up with this. And apparently, what's cool about this is if you use this alarm clock to wake up, you're actually immune to being put in the dream state for, I believe, it's 30 seconds.
Yes. So what it does is, it'll stop the clock for 30 seconds. Everyone will have their own random desk, right? So it's not going to be like necessarily like the pig, where you'll have to randomly try and find it. You'll actually know where yours is, and you'll only be subjected to one. I'm not sure if you can only use it once. So I don't think they've implemented what exactly. They're going to try it out PTD and we'll see. So yes, you can be able to go to this and boom, activate it, and it'll hold your possible dream state for about 30 seconds. So cool stuff.
Yeah, do you think that's going to be fairly well balanced? Because I do wonder about that. Like, say you use that alarm clock, then you're basically 100% safe for 30 seconds, aren't you? Because like Freddy can't touch you for 30 seconds, right?
Oh, he can still touch you in microsleep.
Oh, that's true too. So it'd basically be
it's avoiding you from being in the full dream state. Yeah, because then then you got to face the pallets, you got to face snares, you know what I mean, and all that. So it'll definitely prolongs the length just for 30 seconds from you getting into full dream state.
And you pretty much always be in microsleep, right?
You're always in you start off in microsleep, unless he does his add-on, which is pretty lethal. This you can do is, he's got something called a black box, where it permanently puts someone in the dream state. So the whole game they're going to be put in the dream state.
Damn.
If you have I forgot that perk, one perk, I believe it's a ghost face perk, I forgot what it's called, darn it. It's when you hook and whoever unhooks you, if the obsession is hooked, whoever unhooks you, they become the obsession. That will transfer over to them as the permanent dream state. So it's gonna be, that's gonna be something else.
Yes, I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be a pretty deadly character, honestly.
Yeah, he looks like he's definitely gonna be up there in the elites. I'm super excited for it. I hope we get him within the next 2 weeks after this PTV, because usually it's about a week, and then they'll do their quick fixes. It'd be really great, especially now that I'm I'm going for that. See how high I can go for tier on killer.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd like to see how high you can get on that too. For me, it's not going to be that high, but
I haven't done it. The highest I've ever gone, like a long time ago, was 11, but didn't push any farther. I'm not the greatest. Obviously, I'm a survivor main, but it's time. I want to balance it out.
And see, I play a lot more survivor too, and it's not because I don't like killer. It's just I don't have a ton of time to play anyways. So when I do play, I'd rather play with a couple of friends. Just jump in there and work as a team. So
yeah, it's so much fun. Being having a survive with friends. It's always just a fun experience to be all together. And, especially with the community I have right now that they're into the game, they're really involved, and I'm helping them out, helping them win the game. So I can only imagine when it comes down to that, how great they're going to be, and then we'll be up there in the reds, wishing that we were in the poorer rankings.
Right.
Because that's where the pain comes in once you get into the red. Yeah.
Yeah, which that's going to affect some of my lists too when we get to it. So we're going to get there soon, but with my list, I've always been, I think the highest I got as a survivor was 10. So I've always been on the back half more. So some of these top tier killers that might be, oh, this guy's, the best trapper in the world. I probably haven't seen that guy. So that's going to influence some of my rankings a little bit. So I want to make that known before we get there. But.
Right. No, I get that. Yeah, I know. Well, you'll be able to tell, especially with people who are killers, what killers you need to use when you're in the higher ranks, when you're in the top 5 or, heading into the reds, the top 3 or 4. You'll be like, okay, I can't use the Wraith. You know what I mean? Or, unless you're just out of this world and killer main from the beginning, then you could use any killer and destroy. So, yeah.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
There's definitely advantages. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only spoiler I'll give for my list is that, one of the top tier killers for a lot of people is the nurse, but for me, she did not rank super high on my list, and that is because in the rankings that I usually play in, the nurses are never that good, and I understand that because when you get to the top tier killers, they know how to play the nurse perfectly, but from 10 to 20, the nurses are never really that great. So I've never faced a super deadly nurse. And because of that, I'm not really scared of the nurse when I play usually.
Right. A lot of people are relieved when people are playing the nurse because it's about a 70-30 chance that they're going to suck. And it's because people are building, because it is the hardest killer to learn, especially on console. It's extremely difficult to adjust to. But once you get the hang of her ability, wow. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, one of my friends from Twitch that I know you know as well, Fall Down Go Boom, he plays Dead by Daylight sometimes on stream, and he actually does pretty well as the nurse when he streams it. So, I've seen him play it, and I can see how the nurse could be deadly if you know how to play it.
Yeah, definitely on PC for sure. There's no doubt that's
and he plays on PC too. So
yeah, definitely on PC, things are a lot smoother. When we're playing it on console, it's way more difficult. But when you adjust to that, it's golden. I've seen some incredible nurses, but very few to tell. Yeah.
But before we officially get into that, is there any other news besides the Freddy rework that you want to mention? I know you had some stuff that you possibly looked into.
Some great things are coming up soon. They're still working on. So for those of you that always have to invite your teammates every game, DVD's definitely working on that system where now you'll always be grouped in as a party. So you don't have to worry anymore about always inviting. I think that was one thing that was just continuously tedious,
Yeah, and basically when you say that, that means say our crew that we played with last time, you, me, Zombie, and Tannis are in a crew, right? And we play a game. When we finish the game, we'd still be together. That's what you mean, right?
Exactly. We'll stay together. And, that was a long time coming. I'm happy they're working on it. It's great.
Yeah, also, it is annoying when you end a game okay, let's reinvite everyone again.
It was always a thing. I'm happy, for the Xbox factor. We can invite party back, which is an easy one click. Me using a streamer using a PC, it's not the case. I have to go individually and can't invite party on but that's in the works. September, it still looks like it's a go ahead. September, we're just a couple months away from dedicated servers. This is huge. We'll no longer
Nice.
have to worry about playing someone in Australia or the UK if they're a killer and dying because you were in one corner, but really you were right in front of him in his eyes and he had hit you. So dedicated servers are right on the way. September, it still look they're getting a great pace. Couple changes coming mid-tier. I think there's a couple good things coming. They're leaving some surprises for us there for the mid-chapter. So the rework's coming out, plus they're going to add a couple of secrets. I know that they're removing the Huntress's directional hum. So now you'll hear the hum, but you won't know where it's coming from. So that's
kind of like what they're going to do for the Freddy rework, right?
Exactly. Like what they did for obviously the spirit buffs as well. She's already buffed, so that's gone. They got rid of that directional, which has now made her probably one of the best killers in the game too. So yeah, big things coming. DVD's got it, man. They're getting some good traction.
And for anyone interested in it, what's the timetable for the next chapter? We're going to get a new killer probably. What would you say timetable on that?
Well, every killer, it's always every 3 months after another killer. I think sometimes they'll throw a curveball and we'll get one sometimes a month after or 2 months after, like Ghostface. I think Plague came out and then about a month and a half, 2 months later, they launched Ghostface. I don't know if it was because of the leak or they were just going to go surprise. But roughly it's always every 3 months. Unless they get a licensed killer, we get stuff sooner. So.
And in your opinion, from what you know right now, do we still think it's going to be Pinhead next? We speculated that it could possibly be a Pinhead coming.
Everything's gone dark. I haven't heard anything since they leaked too. So we had, obviously the Ghostface was the big leak. And then obviously the Pinhead stuff. As of right now, no one can find any other information. But I think Pinhead's definitely next in line.
Yeah, that one would super excite me. Like, Ghostface is still exciting, but Pinhead would be like such a cool killer to see in the game.
He'd be great. Those of you who've never seen Hellraiser, get on it. I'm telling you, it's a thrill ride, and it'll really build you up a hype for Pinhead just because he's just horrifying. So super excited to have him in there as well. And of course, there's a lot of talks for Chucky. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I would love that.
I think it would be great though. I would like it. It's just going to be a different dynamic. I could just see so many things they can do there with that. So, yeah, super excited for that. If it goes down. It'd be really nice.
But yeah, I think Chucky will be really cool as a killer, and we've speculated on him for podcast after podcast, so we don't have to get into it again, but he'd be really cool. I think Pinhead would be cool, and it's funny you say that about watching Hellraiser, because I technically haven't seen Hellraiser before, but I just know my horror franchises, and I know my horror killers, so I know who Pinhead is because I am well in tune with the horror franchises of the world, but I have actually never seen Hellraiser personally, so.
Oh, really? That'll be definitely a movie to take a look at. I think it'll build the hype for you even more. You'll definitely see. You'll get a pretty much an idea of what his powers might be.
Yeah, I know some of the lore of him, a little bit with Pandora's box kind of thing, and I know some of the lore with him a little bit, but I just have never seen the movie, so I don't have the full appreciation for him, but I'm definitely excited for him though.
Yeah. I love licensed killers. They're just great because we grew up watching them. You know what I mean? It just gives you that whole mystique. Like Michael Myers, still just the way they made him. I always marvel how they made him because I think he's the best made licensed killer. Where they got him down to the T. Just every time he's there and he stands there and you see him stalking you, you just think of the movie. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Great job.
Now that I think about it, actually, if Pinhead did come into the game, he would be the first licensed killer that I haven't officially seen the movie for. So I've seen all the other ones. I've seen their movies. So.
Oh, okay. That'll be interesting. Well, hopefully you see it before then, but
yeah,
that'd be cool.
Which another one that was we should talk about in the podcast before too. But I have seen some of the Jeepers Creepers films too, and I would have loved to see him, but we'll see if it ever happens now at this point. But
yeah, I highly doubt it will now because obviously that director. With some of those issues, but that would have been really cool.
I just really don't understand how some guy having issues has to deal with like a character in a game. I mean, to me, like that's totally separate things. But
It is. I think people are more like they don't want to support him because he would get money out of it, and being a convicted pedophile is kind of a big deal. So he's, I think a lot of people, talking with a lot of people, there's more people offended by it than not. So if there's an outcry to not have him on there, which sucks because just the character idea, how cool and badass he was in the first film, it would have been cool to have him there, but I get it.
Yeah, and I get people obviously being upset for, what this guy did and everything, but I mean, what that guy did has absolutely nothing to do with the character itself, is my point. Like, my point is the character itself should be separate from that. Like, we should have, the ability to appreciate the character by itself.
Yeah, unfortunately, we live in a society now that it's not based on facts, it's feel.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
To those who feel out there and listen to this, sorry. I'm about facts and truth. But some people.
Yeah, same here. So.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe one day he'll lose the rights to that, and then then everything will be good then. So
hopefully he sells it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
maybe he'll sell the rights, and then we can get the character that way.
That character would be. I know there were talks of them working on it, and they even foreshadowed a photo about a year and a half ago. It showed Michael Myers, Leatherface before he was launched in DVD, and the Creeper. So it was like, oh, they're foreshadowing what's going on here, because then shortly after, Leatherface came, and then it looked like Jeepers Creepers was on the way, but that's going to be held back quite a bit.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, though, but, that's the news we have so far, so I think it's time we get into our killer rankings. What do you think?
I'm very curious to hear yours. I just, already Xing off the nurse, and I understand it, because you're going based on experience and overall fear factor, so I'm very interested to know how you're going to rank here and rate.
Which I told you before we started how I did mine, but you don't know my rankings. But I did mine completely different because basically a lot of the rankings I've seen, and I'm sure yours are going to be sort of in line with this, they're, what killer is the best, this killer's power is the best, this killer is the most deadly, and, I appreciate that, but I don't feel I have the experience that you and other people have to properly make that type of ranking. So I felt I should do mine a little bit different, and because of that, I did my rankings based on when I play Survivor, because I play Survivor a lot more, what killer scares me the most to see? What killer do I find, like, when I get into a game and I see, oh shit, it's this killer, like, damn, this is going to be a hard game. Like, that's kind of what I based mine on, because for me, when I play Survivor more, that's kind of what I, kind of appreciate and rank my killers on based on that, because, if I see a Freddy in a game, which I'll spoil that he has last for me as well, when I see a Freddy in a game, I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be a pretty easy game. Damn, that's nice. So,
yeah.
so that's kind of what I base my rankings on, what killer scares me the most and which one, I think is, hardest to play against. And I think there's something to be said about that, that kind of correlates to the power too, because I think some of the killers, like, it's not going to be a 1-for-1 for every killer, but I think you're going to see a lot of killers that do have, the best powers and stuff like that. They do some kind of rank higher on my list based on that, just because, they are scary to play against. So I think it will serve as a decent killer rankings. It's just not going to be, super experienced killer rankings.
Right. Well, have at it. I can't wait to hear.
And how did you rank yours so people know before we start?
I ranked it based on overall just the base powers that they have without add-ons or perks or whatnot, based on what they are as they came and the magnitude of strength that they have. So that's it. Just the base strength. So those of you that, again, this is just my opinion based on it. And remember, I am a Survivor main. But based on what I've seen and what I've used, because I have played my fair share of killing. It's just an opinion. You could probably, some of you that have played this game could be like, no, I disagree. This is my opinion, of just the base power and what I think, is definitely strongest to weakest.
And that's fair. And I already know, based on how I did my list, I mean, my list pretty much almost everyone's probably going to disagree with because they're going to be like, what? You have that killer right there? Like, I feel you. I mean, you're probably going to disagree with my list at every single turn except for, Freddy being last. That's probably the only thing people are going to agree with on my list. But this is just this is what I feel. And, based on my experience as a survivor. And remember, when I say my experience as a survivor, I've always been ranked 10 to 20 as a survivor. So I haven't seen these killers at their top ranks. So that colors my opinion too, because I understand that if I was at, rank 1 all the time, the nurse would be a lot higher on my list because I'd be facing, nurses that were a lot more experienced, but I haven't seen a, super awesome nurse when I played. So that colors my rankings as well. So I want to make that clear. But, we can kind of get into it. We already both said that, number 16 is the nightmare for us. And, the current version of Freddy before the rework, he's really not that deadly. And when I face him in a game, when I see it's Freddy, I'm like, oh yes, this is gonna be a pretty easy game. And honestly, it's very rare that I've had a game with a Freddy that honestly anyone on the team dies. Most of the games, and again, this is from 10 to 20 ranks, so most of the games that I face a Freddy, my whole team escapes. And if anyone dies, it's only like one person dies. So usually, when I face a Freddy as a killer, 3 of the team escapes at minimum.
Yeah, pretty much. It tends to be the deal.
And usually if somebody dies, it's only because, like, the Freddy face camp or something like that, so.
They'll face camp, or they have a good build with him. Sometimes
right, exactly.
They can counter, or it's a really good killer,
So anything you want to say for Freddy being 16 on yours?
For me, so I have Freddy on 16. I think the biggest problem, obviously, is the dream state for him. Putting you in the dream state and that 7-second pull, just becomes a nightmare for the killer near the end. You know what I mean? Unless you do a build where you're preparing for it as, you got Remember Me, you use one of his perks that you've hit the obsession amount of times so the exit gates can take longer. You definitely need NOAD for him if you even get them in the dream state when you're chasing them. I think that was always the biggest factor, is that dream state pull, was just a nightmare to be in and have trouble. Now, I never really had a problem with that. I did pretty well with him, but to know now what's going to happen compared to what's going to happen with his changes and that compared to now, he's going to be obviously higher in this list, but right now he falls into the last spot. Yeah.
Which makes sense. And before we go to 15, I do want to ask you quickly, when the rework does happen, is your number 15 automatically going to be dead last, or will it affect your list in other ways? Or will your 15 automatically be dead last at that point?
In terms of Freddy, you're saying?
Yeah, when the Freddy rework happens, will your number 15 killer automatically be dead last on your list?
Yeah, he will be,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, he definitely will be.
Alright, so we'll go to 15 next. I'll say mine. For me, this next killer is a killer that when I find out this killer is in my game, I'm honestly not even slightly scared. It's like, okay, this is going to be a fairly easy game. I just have to avoid a couple different things, and that's the Trapper for me. So, I'm not scared of the Trapper at all, really. I mean, basically, when I see a Trapper in a game, all I really have to worry about is, okay, watch the windows. They might put some traps by the windows. Watch by the gens a little bit, but basically I just have to watch out for a couple little things, and it's pretty much just a normal game for me. So for me, I'm not really scared by the Trapper. I mean, I know there's some great Trappers out there. I'll give a shout out to, there's a Twitch streamer called the Entity Left Hand. He is a absolutely deadly, precision Trapper. He's the best Trapper I've ever seen, and he's probably, one of the best Trappers in the world. He plays the Trapper so deadly that pretty much anyone's gonna die against him. But I haven't seen a player like him in my games, so I don't want to, just go by like this is the one amazing Trapper I've seen. In the games that I've played from 10 to 20 rank, most of the Trappers are fairly basic, and you can just kind of run around them pretty easily.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so
okay. You went Trapper to second last. Okay. I get it. And you haven't, see, with the Trapper, he usually, he can be a decent starter even though I don't recommend him, I'd probably recommend for a starter killer if you're starting a game is who's actually in the 15th spot for me. And the 15th spot would be the Wraith. I think if you're going to get started into the game as a killer, I think the Wraith is a great killer to start with. You start with the cloak ability, and you're able to uncloak when you get near, obviously, a survivor, and you can take care of business. I think even with the little buffs they've given the Wraith, he just falls so short to just magnets for power. Like, he's just weak. I think if they added as a natural ability Windstorm, which is an add-on you can get, so when you uncloak, you have a boost, and you can hit the survivor, like, pretty much have a great advantage to. I think he would have been
kind of like the Pig's Charge?
Yes. If, he has an add-on for it, so it's called Windstorm, but the problem is that why didn't they just add it as a natural ability for him?
Are there any add-ons for him that like actually reduce the time that it takes to ring the bell and uncloak?
Yeah, even to the point you can't hear the bell. So
interesting.
Those are good
That's
things.
That's cool add-on that actually, yeah, because hearing the bell is definitely like a big drawback, and not hearing the bell would actually be a really cool add-on. I didn't know that add-on was available.
It's a really good add-on. Again, good for starters, that people that are starting the game. I just think for base strength, starting him with what he has, he is definitely falling to 15th. We'll be dead last soon. Come to rework it. Yeah.
Fair enough. I definitely see your points, based on how you did your list, and we'll see the Wraith later on my list, but I'll say my thoughts more on the Wraith when we get to later in my list. So.
All right.
I don't want to spoil too much yet, so.
No worries, don't.
But number 14 for me, this one's probably going to surprise you a little bit too, but this killer, I honestly think in comparison to another killer that's in the game, this killer really holds almost no weight for me, especially if it's a survivor facing them. For me, they're not scary at all. When I see this killer, I'm like, oh yes, it's this killer. That's awesome. I'm going to have a great game right now. And that is the Cannibal. And honestly, facing the Cannibal, I have absolutely zero fear. Like, when I see the Cannibal, basically I'm like, wait, is that Hillbilly or is that Cannibal? Oh, it's Cannibal. Okay, good. This is a great game. So, and that should that gives you a little bit of spoiler. And, I think Hillbilly is very different than Cannibal. Cannibal, I think, is very underpowered for a survivor to face. And as a survivor, I don't really have that much worry because unless you're like, trying to do like 360 turnarounds, that's pretty much the only way that the Cannibal is kind of deadly to me. They have some great perks like barbecue and chili, but this isn't a ranking based on the perks. It's based on the killer itself, and the killer itself, I think there's a lot more killers that I'm afraid of than the Cannibal. For me, the Cannibal doesn't really hold much stock for me, and I always seem to have an easy game against them.
Okay, interesting. And you're going based on fear factor too, so I get that. For the Cannibal, I think a lot of people would be, when you don't see him, he's definitely when you have him in your games and he gets you in the basement, it's over. Everyone dies. I think he's one of probably the best defensive guys.
True, yeah. Basement killer, he's definitely the best. But I mean, if he doesn't get you in the basement, though, like, that's pretty much the scariest thing about him, probably, is getting in the basement.
Yeah, it's a big move. Okay, that was interesting. Okay, you got him on 14. 14, I went different here. I went, actually, the Doctor. So,
interesting.
14 on the Doctor. Again, another good killer to use in the beginning. I think he lacks in so many things. Really, what he has going for you is, obviously, if you utilize it, his shock treatment, his madness. If it helps a lot of people, for beginners, again, to be able to know where survivors are. But after that, if not utilizing that, he really doesn't bring much to the table. He would be just like any average. He's slow. He can get his terror radius for days. That's something that I feel that lacks a lot. So yeah, definitely a no for me. So he's hitting the 14th.
Which, I don't know if you've seen this too, but it's very rare that I see this, but I've actually seen like some ranked 20 doctors really not understand it, and they never even use the shock treatment once. I'm like, seriously? You're not even going to use it once? Like, seriously?
If you're not using that with the Doctor, it's over.
Yeah, he's probably even worse than Freddy if you're not using that.
Yeah.
I mean,
if
you're not going to use that, then like Freddy's even better than him.
That's his main strength. That's what you need,
exactly.
right? And you know, if you're not going to use that, that's where I say, you've pretty much it's over. The game's done. Like the doctor's useless at that point because he is probably one of the most annoying killers to be against. Obviously, when someone's utilizing him, but annoying is just the case. Deadliest, not so much. Just he definitely keeps that game going for a little bit longer than it should.
Yeah, and I won't spoil where he is in my list yet, but that is why he is higher than 14 for me because like that annoying factor to me that kind of applies to fear a little bit too, where you know when you find out you're facing the doctor, you know you're not going to be able to hide, and to me that is a little bit scary. Where you're like, okay, I can't hide this game. Like I have to play my entire game differently. So to me that has some factor for me.
Yeah, I get that. No problems. Interesting. I'm interested to see what's your next one though, because you already got me going. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You're gonna be surprised all the way down, I think. So, but real quick though, I do want to ask you. It's interesting to me that you have the Doctor and you have the Wraith down there because they both have a similar ability where you have to like cloak, uncloak, or you have to go into shock treatment, or the regular variation. Is that kind of a common thing for you where you don't like where you have to switch between them for killers?
It just puts you at a disadvantage, especially with more advanced survivors, because that gives you time, right? And
the only other one that does that you haven't said yet is the pig. That's the only other one that has like a switch mechanic like that.
Right. No, I think it's all about time. And I think when you get to the higher levels, I think he definitely does hurt you unless you can utilize him well with add-ons and whatnot.
Yeah, because I have seen a lot of ranking lists that random people have made, and a lot of people do rank him around like 7 or 8. It seems like so that is fairly low. I'm kind of surprised by that.
For the doc, well, remember, keep in mind base. So what you have without add-ons, without anything, without his perk set, we're looking at the base strength of what he is, and he definitely falls short. Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to 13 then. Number 13, this one is probably going to surprise you again, and you might be upset with me actually, because we're going with your favorite killer, the Clown. So.
Oh, okay.
So for me, the Clown, unless you're facing a Clown that really knows what they're doing, kind of like yourself, the Clown isn't that scary to face because the Clown basically has, those little, I don't know what you call them, essentially elixirs or bombs that he throws out to slow you down. And unless you really know how to use that to your advantage, the Clown's not that scary for me to face. And basically you can just, kind of run around a Clown pretty easily because that's all the Clown really has going for it is using that to their advantage. And if a Clown knows how to use that to their advantage and slow you down, then it can be pretty effective, as I've seen you do on your streams, for example. But from, the killers that I've faced, ranked 10 to 20, the Clowns that I come up against, the killers at that kind of rank, 10 and below, they don't really know how to use that effectively. So for me, when I face a Clown, it's like, oh, this isn't that bad of a game. I mean, maybe they'll hit me with a couple bombs and slow me down a little bit, but they're not going to be that hard for me to face. That's kind of my opinion on it.
Right. For the Clown. No, I get that. People can see that as, I think, again, in that rank, you won't see how well they're going to be utilized. They're great anti-loop. But interesting that he's low in that category for you. Interesting. Which what the irony of this is, so what are we at, 13 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the irony of it, your favorite killer is on the list for me at 13. So it kind of evens out. It's the irony of it. So the pig will fall short for me, I think, overall base. She's a good defensive killer. Not to put her that she's not bad, actually. I think she's really a good killer. I enjoy using her. I just think for base, she does lack in a lot as well. I think,
and especially if you get into some of her add-ons, you can really make a really good pig.
Yes, but again, with the add-ons and getting certain perk sets, it can definitely get her stronger and moved up into that list. But if you're looking at overall base, she doesn't really have much that will have you quaking and fear. I think she falls short of that, but still, not to take away, she's not a bad killer at all. She's actually really good to use, but she definitely falls short in my list. So for that, she's in 13.
Fair enough. And it's interesting to me that, all three of those killers that have that switch mechanic appear for you lower in your list. So was that something you thought about at all when you made your list, or?
Yeah, well, I looked at it, and I really thought about base, and I said, if you're looking at the base structure here, if you're just putting them as a whole, when it comes to anything else, like she really, these killers that are ranked there, yeah, they fall short once you get up into those higher ranks. Even though there are a lot of people that use the pig, and she's great to use, they're just way better killers that you can utilize. And
have you at high ranks as a survivor? Have you come up against some really good pigs at all? Or
I have I can't. I've come up with decent ones. I can't. I was gonna say I have, but I realized I was stream sniped with both of them, so I can't really. I can't really say I have. I was about to say I had. Yeah, I remember getting sloshed, but then again, I think back, those were two people that stream sniped me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, there are definitely good pigs out there. I know that for sure.
Yeah, because the three that have the switch mechanic with their base power, the only killer you rank them ahead of is the Nightmare. So it's really interesting to me that it seems like you really devalue that in a killer where you have to switch between one mode and another mode.
Yeah, I think it costs you. It's a little bit slower. Well, can you imagine if you don't have our add-ons that she uses, or with any of them, to help them be buffed, base structure, yeah, she just falls short. Again, she's a good killer. There's just other killers that are way better that you can utilize at their base strengths.
All right, fair enough. So for me, my number 12 is a killer that, in all fairness, I haven't faced this killer a ton, so this could change like in the future if I face this killer a lot more, but the times that I have faced this killer, I really haven't been that worried about it. They don't seem to know how to operate the killer effectively, and this killer seems like sort of like a which I hear me out, like this killer probably at high ranks is probably good, but this killer at the ranks that I usually play at, it seems like kind of a poor man's version of the nurse, and that is the Spirit. So,
okay.
So for me, the Spirit, I don't really, quake in fear at all. When I see it's a Spirit, I'm like, okay, this game, it's not going to be super easy, but this game isn't going to be, that one I have to worry about that much because, the Spirit, it really just seems like sort of like a normal DVD game to me. It's not like, okay, I really have to watch out for this or I have to do this differently. To me, when I see it as a Spirit, I don't change my game at all. Like my game just stays the same as I usually play. It's okay. Let's just have a normal game. Let's, grab a drink and let's just enjoy this.
Wow. She is a hard killer to learn, but when you get to use her mind trick and understand how it's used, definitely she's a threat. But I get it. She's my kryptonite, and I was always trying to understand how. In the beginning, she wasn't, but I didn't realize she had 3 buffs when I started playing it again. That really made her strong. But no, okay, I get that. I'll give it to you. All right, that falls on the 12th slot.
Yep.
Here, moving on up, I think these are, so from Pig up, these are good killers. This is where they're ranked for me. For the 12th spot, I give it to Trapper. Okay. I think Trapper is also another good kind of character to use in the beginning. If you're a strategic, person, right? If you like to put strategy in play, the way you utilize the traps, if you put them, obviously not in plain sight, put them in bushes, grass, whatever it may be, killer is definitely up in the top rank like that. You would definitely want to look at a Trapper, very strategic. He's very just balanced, solid, nothing bad to say about him. I put him at 12.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that about in bushes and stuff like that, because that amazing Trapper I talked about, that Twitch streamer Entity Left Hand, when he does it, his traps are always placed perfectly, and instead of like, what a lot of rookie trappers would do and just like, oh, let me place this trap right next to the generator. Oh, let me place this, right next to, like the exit, handle. Like, instead of that, what he actually does is he uses his traps to actually block off like walkways, and like he puts them in really strategic areas. Like, okay, I know people are going to have to run through here to get to this gen. So instead of putting it right at the gen, he actually puts it a little bit farther back, and people aren't going to expect it to be that far back. They walk in there, oh shit, I got trapped.
Yeah, always the case. It's very good. Being strategic with it, that's what he is. He's a strategic killer, and he's great at doing what he does. So, yeah, that falls on 12 for me.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to actually do 11 and 10 at the same time for me, and the reason why is because these are killers that, like the Spirit, I've either not faced or faced once. So, for me, I faced one of these killers one time ever, and I've faced one of these killers 0 times. So, for me, 11 is the Plague, and 10 is Ghostface. So, for me, I kind of had to put them a little bit lower, just because I haven't had the experience against them yet to know really how deadly they're going to be. I will say that I know, based on what I've seen and stuff, Ghostface would rank a lot higher for me once I get some experience facing Ghostface. Just until I actually face Ghostface, I can't say how that's going to feel for me with the scare factor, with, worrying. I can't say how that's going to feel until it actually happens. So for me, 11 is Plague. I have faced the Plague once. It didn't really seem that bad to me, but it was the first time I ever faced it. So it could just be, that one killer was bad. And Ghostface, I haven't faced it yet, but I do know that once I actually do face Ghostface, it's probably going to rank closer to like, I'd say 4 to 7 for me in terms of like fear factor, but I just haven't faced a Ghostface yet, so I can't put it that high until I actually get the experience against it.
Oh, okay. No, I get that. Well said. And I gotta say, I totally I got an accidental delete here. Cause I was like, wait a minute, where's Plague? I left Plague down there too. So we're looking at, just an honorary fail mention that the 14th spot would have been the Plague. So I'll throw Plague down there. Just not enough.
All right. So my pick actually beat a different killer then.
Yes. Damn it. Anyway, but moving on to, the next is Leatherface. So Leatherface, for me,
would be technically what number then?
That would be, we'll say 11. Yeah, we'll say it. Well, no, that would have been 12. So 12. So he's 12. So Leatherface would be 12. Looking at Leatherface, one of the best defensive killers in the game. The ability to, as a base killer, to have an insta down should automatically cement you up there. Now, although it's not the easiest tool to use with his chainsaw, his ability, if mastered, or, done well with, he can do multiple downs. So that eliminates perks for survivors like Borrowed Time, because he hits you multiple times at once. I think he's definitely one of the most deadliest killers in the game. Obviously, to have the ability to instant down someone, that says a lot. So, I have him on 12 on the list. Now I'll move up to 11 to catch up to you.
Yeah, I just said 10, so,
okay.
I have 9 left to go after that, so.
Okay, so, 9 left. Hold on, let me see what I got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll have 8 left after this one. Okay, so it puts me on there with you.
Alright.
The Hag. I think the Hag, although with her buffs, a lot of people are gonna say, hey, they put her up with her new buffs since the new buffs. They're saying, oh, she's probably the second or third best killer. I don't agree. I think although a lot of buffs have happened with her, speeding up, obviously, getting her a little bit speedy, speeding up the trap placement. I don't put her up there, but I say she is a great defensive. She's probably put down there as another annoying killer, because, with the right Hag, someone using the right Hag, you put traps everywhere. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. But if she puts traps in, like, for instance, if you're getting hooked and puts traps all around, all you got to do is run around it, and obviously you've eliminated her main strength. So that's why I put her on that list.
All right, fair enough. I could see that. Hag is definitely higher for me because I haven't mentioned it yet, but I will say, going back to the cannibal for a second too, one of the things I forgot to mention when I talked about him as well, one of the reasons I also don't fear the cannibal even slightly is because I always forget the name of this perk too, but I always run with the perk that if I'm slugged on the ground, I can actually get myself up once per game. So, and it seems like a lot of cannibals just slug you on the ground, they leave you on the ground to die. And if a cannibal does that to me, I'm like, haha, loser. Like, I just get myself up. And I remember, like, I'll always remember it very vividly. I think it was a cannibal I was facing too. And one game, they left me slugged on the ground. They just, the exit doors were open. They were going after somebody else. And I got myself up. I ran out the exit door. They were probably so pissed because, like, they had no idea I was going to get myself up.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons I also, don't fear the cannibal at all. And I don't know if you can refresh me on what that person actually called that I'm talking about, but Unbroken, I think it is, or something.
Knockdown, where they couldn't find you, and then there's
no, it's the perks that it's the perk that I'm actually on the ground. I can get myself up from the dying state.
Oh, Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. There you go. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love running that perk, and
it's a great.
To
perk.
me, it's just like a safety perk for me as a fairly newer survivor, because for me it's kind of a safety thing where if somebody leaves me on the ground, I have that guarantee that I can at least get up once per game. But moving on, number 9 for me is the killer that I spoiled a little bit earlier, and 9 for me is going to be the nurse. And for me, that is because, like I was kind of saying earlier, this has to rank lower for me because 10 to 20, I've never once come up against a decent nurse. So, honestly, based on how I did my rankings, technically I should probably rank this lower than what I have, but I have enough respect for how good the nurse will be at higher ranks that I did have to put it up there a little bit more, but based on how I did my list, technically I should rank this even lower than 9, but it's only 9 out of respect. Honestly, once I face Ghostface automatically going to be higher than her. If I face more of the Plague, I'll probably rank the Plague higher than her as well. So she would probably drop to 11 pretty much automatically when I face those killers a little bit more. But 10 to 20, I've never faced one, not even a single one that's a decent nurse. So it's always a very easy game for me, nothing to worry about, and it's only number 9 out of respect for me.
Right. All right. I get that. So 9 for me was Hag. We already talked about Hag. 8. So I'm moving to 8. I got ahead of you there after I had the Plague back in there. Legion. I think Legion, although as a killer I was never interested in, I'm looking at now that ability of Frenzy where you have, I think, the annoyance level taken to a new high level. I can't remember the amount of times I've been in games with a Legion that have people DCing rage quitting. I think since I've been back playing, I think the Legion's been the top of rage quitting. His ability to be able to have this frenzy where he can obviously leap over pallets and hit you, and the more he hits you, he'll be able to see that where the next survivors are. So he has that ticker to get to that next survivor, and consistently doing that wears and slows the game down because you're going to have to mend yourself or you'll be in a dying state. Really can just bring a puddle of trouble, especially if people DC. So I put Legion on that spot there. He takes the 8th spot on the list.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I could definitely see that, and I could see whether Legion's not higher. I think there's a few people I've seen that think the Legion's like a top 5 killer for them. I don't really see top 5 for me personally, but that based on they based on power kind of thing, like based on you, and they apparently rank in top 5. But personally, I don't see that. But I mean, to each their own. But 8 for me is a killer that we've already talked about before, and that is going to be the Doctor. So for me, the Doctor, it's not so much, oh shit, it's the Doctor, I'm super scared of the Doctor. For me, it's the fact that I talked about a little bit earlier, where when I know it's a Doctor, I have to change my game up a lot more because I know I can't really hide. So I'd like to, stay hidden more, and a great game for me is going to be a game where I never interact with the killer. And I've had some games like that where I just, pop from gen to gen. I just do a bunch of gens, escape, and I barely ever see the killer. So for me, the way I like to play, that is a perfect game for me where I almost never see the killer. Some people like to run the killer around and, distract them a little bit more. They like to, help their teammates that way, or they like to, play with the killer at the hook, like different things like that. I'm not that style as much. For me, I like to stay hidden more, and because of that, that's why the Doctor is number 8, the middle of the road for me, where it's not so much the annoyance factor, it's the fact that, damn, I have to change my playstyle, I can't hide as much. What am I going to do here? Because I'm going to have to wake myself up, I'm going to have to, get out of that, mind state or whatever he puts you in. And for me, that's really what it's all about. Is the Doctor's not exactly scary to face. He's not exactly, super deadly. It's just I have to change what I'm used to, and that's kind of why he's number 8 for me.
Okay, I get that. All right, so we'll go on to 7. So 7 for me will be the Huntress. Very balanced killer. The ability to be able to, if you can, now she can be a bit difficult to learn in terms of throwing hatchets. Obviously no crosshair, you gotta kind of just learn by as you play and get in feel, can be one of the most lethal. Now, she does have the highest terror radius, because she goes about 45 meters in terms of her hum, but when that directional is eliminated, I think she might even go higher on the list. But as of right now, she's left here. The ability to hit you close range, if you can't, to massively hit you with hatchets long range, leaves a world of hurt. Even though there's a lot of openings of weakness for her, in terms of knowing where she's at, I definitely put her up there as one of the deadliest. So she's 7 for me.
Fair enough. I'll be talking about the Huntress more afterwards, but because I haven't said the Huntress yet, but. So I'll just move on to my number 7, I guess. And number 7 for me is one that you just talked about. We almost ranked him in the exact same spot as Legion, so we almost ranked him exactly the same. For me, the Legion is a little bit scarier to face than some other killers, and I think it's kind of that speed and the fact that the Legion can jump over pallets to me. So basically, the Legion, almost acts as a survivor when they're chasing you in some ways, and to me, it is a little bit scarier to face in that sense, because when I know I'm facing a Legion, it's like, damn, I can't really use the palace to kind of, hide behind. I can't, defend myself that way. They can just jump over it. And the fact that they can frenzy you, they just, they keep stabbing you all the time. And, it has that, little bit of a mind effect on you. Like, oh, damn, they stabbed me. Now I have to go find somewhere to hide and, mend real quick. So it has that effect on you where they're always hunting you. And I think that's an interesting, mind play as well. So the Legion does have a little bit more of that fear factor for me.
Interesting. Yeah, he's definitely he stands out, be it whatever level, be it high or low. He stands out as again, like I said, the amount of rage quits when this guy's playing. I'm like, wow. So,
and I have noticed before you move on, I have noticed a couple of killers that neither one of us said yet, so that bodes well for us.
Oh, okay. Yes, there is. We'll see how it goes.
Few, yeah.
I'm already narrowing down what I think you got, but we'll see. So we're moving to the 6th spot. The 6th spot's gonna be definitely my favorite killer. I'm gonna give the 6th spot to the Clown, not because he's my favorite killer, but if you overlook at his base, the ability to stop looping with the gas agent, it slows down the survivor's speed by 15%. He has a decent amount of speed coming at you ruthlessly. Definitely a big advantage when you're, taking on experienced survivors that are just running away looping. He definitely slows down the game, and you don't need to necessarily be very proficient in terms of the tosses. You throw it where you have to throw it, it goes there, it changes the direction, and you end up gaining speed and traction. I definitely give the Clown the 6th spot.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, for me, the Clown isn't that scary, but you would play a lot higher ranks than I do, so I definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually really funny and really ironic, because, number 13, I ranked Clown, and you had your pig there, our favorites are respectively. And we actually did the opposite here. Number 6 for me is actually my favorite, the pig. So, so that's really ironic that we did that way.
The irony. Okay, that's good.
But number 6 for me being the pig. It's kind of scary for me in some respects. Like, it's not scary in the same sense as some of these other killers that are high on my list, but it's scary in the sense that as someone that loves the pig, and when I play killer, I play as the pig, I know how deadly the pig can be, and I know what the pig is capable of. And for that respect, that kind of puts the pig a little bit higher for me because I know exactly what the pig is capable of doing. So I know if I'm facing a good pig, how they can kind of run me around, how they can delay the game more. And the pig is scary for me in the sense that there's been a couple times I've faced pigs, and I actually, even though I know what the pig does and stuff, I actually mistook them as a survivor, and I got hit for it because, if the pig is crouching and like they're crouching near a gen, sometimes you can mistake them as a survivor if you're not, paying attention enough. And there's been a couple times I've been caught off guard where I wasn't paying attention, and the pig can be mistaken as a survivor. They can seem like they're, one of your teammates, and the fact that they have that kind of roar, dash to them, that can catch you off guard sometimes. And I think the pig, it really plays with your mind sometimes because they can have that crouch, uncrouch ability where you can, get rid of your terror radius and just play with their mind a little bit, kind of walk around, crouch, uncrouch, make them think, wait, is the pig here? Wait, no, is it not here? Wait, where there? So it can really mess with your mind. And then also the fact that the jigsaw boxes, you have that timer aspect to you, and usually you don't die by the jigsaw boxes. Usually you get it off in time, but there's been a few times where like that timer's getting pretty low. I've already searched 2 jigsaw boxes and I haven't found the right one yet. It's like, oh man, it's one of these other ones. Like, I hope I find the right one. I hope it's not the last one. It does mess with your mind a little bit in that respect. And also the fact that I've had a couple of times where the gates are open and I have a jigsaw trap in my head. I can't escape until I get that off. And that is definitely a frustrating and scary experience where you can't escape. The killer knows you can't escape, so you're going for jigsaw boxes, and they know you have to go for that instead of the exit. So that's kind of my reasoning on the pick being number 6, and I do love the pig, and if it was based on the killers I love, it'd probably be number 1, but there are killers that do scare me more than the pig.
Interesting. And the most passionate detail, you can see, everyone, how much he loves the pig, because he went to town on its defense.
Yeah.
Okay. If that ain't biased, I don't know what is. No, no, good call. I get you, man. I understand it too in terms of the pure.
Well, hopefully I explained it fairly well. So
yeah, you definitely did. Oh man. Well, moving to the 5th one, which was well done, brother. Moving to the
Thanks.
5th, I am having a tough time because I'm juggling between 4 and 5 between these two. I'm still juggling who I want to give the 5th and 4th slot to. I'm going to change my 4th slot now to 5th. So the 5th I'm going to give to the Spirit.
All right.
I would have easily put her as one of the worst killers in the games until she got the buffs, the 3 big buffs she got. Obviously, her windbreaker, I'll call her mind trick. When she zooms, you'll hear like the vacuum effect. Is no longer directional, so you'll hear it, but you don't know who it's coming to. It has played a huge factor in this decision, and the ability she has now, very hard to learn, but seeing what you can do with her, how you track scratch marks until it stops. And her ability to just come out of it, and there you are, boom, she hits you. I think it's such a big strategy with what she has. So I've put her in the 5th spot, and it's because of that buff she got, just that simple buff. So she is the 5th spot for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I haven't feared the Spirit too much, but I definitely understand, based on power, how good she could be. So.
Definitely the buffs definitely brought her into one of the top, for sure. That's why a lot of people, especially I've found in Twitch streamers I've watched, will rage quit out. Because they're getting sick of everyone using the Spirit now more than ever, just because, well, the simple fact that, yeah, she is pretty lethal. She is a threat. And my buddy, shout out to my buddy Cornbread, who out of any of the killers I ever heard, he screamed like I've heard no other scream. He's like, "Oh, what the hell is that? Oh my gosh! What the heck? I'm out of here! What is that?" I could not believe I heard this grown man, Mr. Tough Guy, scream like a baby. He's like, "I don't know about you guys. I'm gonna hide in this bush." So in terms of fear factor, I'll tell you right now, he'd probably put her in 1. So she's definitely in 5th for me.
Fair enough. Well, for me, my 5th is actually going to be the biggest disparity in our list, and this is one that you're probably going to think, like, I can't believe you actually put it this high, but I think what this comes down to is the big difference in rank play. So you play at very high ranks, I play rank 10 to 20, and rank 10 to 20, it kind of goes in defense of what you were saying earlier. This killer right here is someone that you can kind of pick up easy and actually pretty deadly with. And number 5 for me is the Wraith. So for me, the Wraith is pretty scary to face because you never know when they're going to be there. You know, it has 0 terror radius when they're cloaked, and you actually do not know where they are. And I've had several games where, you know, I'm just doing a gen, you know, I'm all good, and then you hear that bell, it's like, oh shit, damn it, you gotta get out of there. So, they definitely sneak up on you, and I know there's that shimmer that you can look for, but sometimes you just get in the zone, and I'm sure you've had this before versus Wraith, like, you just get in the zone, you know, you're not really paying attention, and you miss that shimmer, and if you miss that shimmer, it's like, oh damn, they can really sneak up on you really hardcore. And for me, the Wraith, like I was saying, it kind of depends on those, you know, ranking styles where 10 to 20, I think a brand new killer can be a lot better with a Wraith than some of the other killers from 10 to 20 because it's going to take less time to learn how to play that killer well. And I think that's part of why it makes it this high on my list where it's this scary because the type of ranked players that I play against, there's a lot better Wraiths than I'm seeing with, you know, like nurses, for example. Like nurses 10 to 20, they're almost always shit killers. Wraiths 10 to 20, you can actually come up against some pretty decent killers for what you're used to facing. And for me, that is a little bit nerve-wracking. And we talked about earlier where the games that we recently played, it was the Wraith killers that actually, you know, we came up against that really gave us a hard time. And it seems like every game I have against the Wraith, it's definitely difficult.
Right. Okay. I get that. No, and I get that. And I did express it earlier where, you know, the newer people, especially good for new people that want to be killers, be Wraith, and especially for the newer survivors, right? Like killers like that are going to be scared. You're going to be scared the hell out of, right? You're going to be freaked out. Even with Doctor, even he was low in the rank, you're going to be freaked out because you don't know what to do, right? You're like, what the heck do I do? This thing, I'm screaming. I don't know what's going on, or why do I keep screaming? And you realize you got to get to tier 3. So, yeah, I definitely get that. Interesting, bro.
Yeah, so.
I get you that.
That is the biggest disparity. You ranked at 15, I ranked at 5, so that's 10 ranks. That's the biggest disparity in our entire list, so.
It's a big one.
Yep.
Well, I'll give you number 4, and number 4, hands down, is Ghostface. Definitely one of the top killers in the game. Great add-on. The ability to not be detected, getting into stock mode, is huge. To be a stealth killer and having a survivor not know where you are when you are, and be able to have the ability of a one hit down, definitely puts Ghostface on that list. He is a monster out there. Definitely freaky to play against. Just any killer that has an ability to instant down should easily be on that list. But to also not be detected if you're not exposed, or revealed rather for survivor's aspect, is huge. So on the 4 on the list is Ghostface.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I haven't faced Ghostface yet, but I do think I'm going to enjoy facing Ghostface a lot. You know, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play against. So.
You will wet yourself, that's for sure.
Yeah. I figured so.
Get some extra typies.
And that was number 3 for you?
That's 4.
Okay, so you have 3 left?
I got 3 left, yeah.
Alright. How did I catch up to you then? I don't know how I did, but
we balanced it out. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
So, next for me is number 4, and my number 4 is a killer you've already talked about, but for me it's pretty scary to face, and that is the Huntress. So for me, the Huntress is definitely a deadly killer, and I think for me, what makes this killer a lot scarier sometimes is those hatchet throws, because you never know when they're going to toss a hatchet, and some of these Huntresses, even from 10 to 20, if they're playing on PC, they can have deadly accurate aim with those hatchets, and, I've been hit from, like, a mile away sometimes, like, oh, damn, that was a nice shot. Like, I always give them props for it, like, oh, geez, they really got me good there. And for me, that and the lullaby, like the lullaby is really creepy, and I love how creepy it is. It's really cool, actually, and the fact that they can toss hatchets at you too. You hear that lullaby, it's like, oh man, that they're here, they're somewhere, and even when it gets directional soon, that's going to be even more deadly and more scary. But even right now, the fact that they can toss those hatchets at you, especially for the way that I play with the lockers too, and the fact that the Huntress goes into the locker to reload their hatchets, they're going to be checking lockers more often than other killers. So I can't hide on lockers as much as the Huntress either. So facing the Huntress is definitely a scary experience for me because I don't have that crutch of using the lockers. They have hatchets they can toss at me, so if they see me, I can run by, but they can still hit me on the way by. So it's definitely a scary experience facing the Huntress.
Definitely one of the most lethal killers in the game, that's for sure. To be up that high, there's no disagreement there.
Appreciate that, thanks.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely deadly. And especially for you, because I know you've been victim. I told you, don't go, when the Huntress says, don't go in the locker,
yep.
She's going to replenish, and all of a sudden, surprise, and then boom. An easy hook.
Which, before we say them, too, I will say that we both have 3 left. 2 of our top 3, neither one of us has said this. I think it speaks a lot that 2 of our top 3 are top 3 for us when we have completely different ways of ranking them.
Yes. Sadly, number 3, which I would love to say is number 1, and this is my bias, but it's not. Definitely one of my favorite killers to use. I don't use as much because I like using other killers as much, but he doesn't take away from how dangerous he is. The number 3 spot easily could be arguably top 2, but Michael Myers, hands down, the lowest stealth radius in the game. You're looking at 16 meters when you get to tier 2, to the points where if you put 100 views on him, he'd be base, but we're going base killer. Basically, he's undetected till it's about too late, where you're going to have to dodge and weave. He has the ability to one-hit down you. Definitely probably the scariest killer in the game, because when you're just doing your thing on a generator, there he is from a distance, stalking you, looking at you, like Laurie Strode was being stalked when she was looking out her school window and seen him right next to the car. They're just staring at you. Definitely ranks as number 3 on the list for me. 100%.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think it's definitely a deadly killer for sure. And, I will say we actually ranked at the same spot. Number 3 for me is the shape as well. So for me, it's super, super scary. And I know you've been there, sometimes when I, see the shape out of the corner of my eye, like, oh, damn, because it can really sneak up on you. So it's super, super scary. And the fact that, like, he just sits there and stares at you is so creepy. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, wait, oh, shit, it's Myers, run. Like, so.
Yeah.
It's so scary. I definitely get very scared facing him. Just 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. But yeah, I definitely get very scared facing the shape like that, and Myers is such a scary killer in general, but his power makes it even scarier because he just stands there like a creep just staring at you, and he powers up, and then he's even more deadly to the point where if he's tier 3, he can just knock you once and you're down. So he's super, super deadly, and he's very, very scary to face. So I mean, for me, it has to be number 3 because every time it's a Myers, I'm like, oh man, it's Myers. Like, this is gonna be a rough game. Like, and that's what I always feel whenever I know it's Myers. Like, oh damn, this game is not gonna be easy. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way. Like, whenever you see a Myers, like, this is not gonna be the easiest game in the world.
No, it's definitely not. He's definitely the most horrifying out of all of them. Just to see him standing there watching you, they made him definitely the best licensed killer made to the T of the movie. Just overall, love to see him at number one spot, but that wouldn't be the truth. So, but definitely one of the most lethal to use. Definitely fun to use.
And we ranked at the same spot, so it's really interesting to me that, we had completely different criteria and we ranked in the same spot.
Yeah, I believe it. Number two. And number two, hands down, is the Hillbilly. Hillbilly, just the power he utilizes to be able to have the mobility like he does, where he can have a chainsaw that would power you up to speed through the map, across the map, and monitor every area quickly. And the ability, if you come across that blade of chainsaws that he has to instant down you, easily makes him one of the most annoying killers, one of the best killers, hands down. Hillbilly definitely takes the number two spot, without question. Just unbelievable speed, insta down ability. Again, that insta down ability, if you have that ability, that just puts you pretty much almost above all, and a threat. So Hillbilly for me hits the two spot.
I definitely get that completely, so much that I actually ranked Hillbilly as 2 as well. So we tied again for that one. And Hillbilly, what you said with that mobility, that's what makes it so scary for me. And that's kind of the huge difference with the Cannibal for me. Like, the Cannibal is completely unscary, where the chainsaw ability of the Hillbilly, they can move across the map so fast that whenever I know it's the Hillbilly, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a rough game for me. Because even beginner killers, some beginner killers can actually play the Hillbilly pretty well. I'm not one of them. Like, I don't play the Hillbilly well. I just can't master that, movement mechanic properly. But some people actually get the hang of it pretty fast, and it makes them very deadly, early on in the game. And honestly, the fact that I could be working on a gen, one side of the map, it's so scary to feel like, okay, if I mess up this gen, if, I fail a skill check, that Hillbilly, if they wanted to, they could be over here in about 5 seconds flat. And that's a scary feeling, like, oh shit, I fail a skill check, that Hillbilly's probably running for me. That's a scary feeling.
Yeah, he definitely an intense killer. Just that ability to have that, to make sure you gotta be careful, especially when you hear that chainsaw to start the game. He is hard to learn, but once you get the hang of it and that mobility, it's peaches.
Yeah, he's definitely super, super deadly, and I do not like the games that I face him. So whenever it's a Hillbilly game, I'm like, ah, damn it, I don't want to play this game, but whatever. I'm not like one of those people that rage quits anytime, so I'm like, well, I'll play it and see what happens.
Right? Yeah, it's insane.
But I do know who your number one is now by process of elimination, so you want to talk about your number one?
Yeah, hands down, number one is set on a class of her own. So I'll give you the great detail, obviously, why she is the nurse. Hands down, number one in the game, no questions asked. The ability to go through pallets, go through walls, go down, blink with her blink ability, to go downward or upward on top of a roof or whatever it may be, really eliminates all defenses that survivors have. This is probably... some killers can do, but this is probably the only killer I can always say comfortably can survive a game without perks. Because, quite frankly, you eliminate everything that the survivor can possibly do. Especially with her fixes, the little bug fixes that they fix with her blinks now. Hands down, the nurse takes number one on the spot.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying there, and I mean, the nurse, for me, I would be a scary killer if I was playing against better nurses. And that's the big problem for me, why it's not higher. I'm just not facing nurses that are that good. But the fact that she can go through walls like that would be extremely scary if people knew how to use it properly. But ranks 10 to 20, people don't know how to do that properly. So
even high ranks, still, because she's so hard to use.
Right.
It's just so scary to know that there are good ones out there. Because you have no way. If she finds you, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? Yeah, top killers have trouble with her, especially on console. But seeing some people that work on the PC,
Yeah,
with
I
it,
mean,
it's
I
incredible.
mentioned earlier, I've seen Fall Down, a streamer on PC, and I wouldn't say he's like, the best killer in the world, but like, he definitely knows how to use her properly, and he does a great job with her. And most times when he plays the nurse, he kills at least 3. So I think he does a pretty good job.
Not bad at all.
And I think, process elimination, you know who my number 1 is, right?
Go for it.
So number 1 for me, it was a lot lower on your list, but the fear factor of this one, it unparallels with the other ones. I mean, the fear factor for this one, when I find out I'm playing a game with this killer, I'm like, oh shit, this game is gonna suck so much. And this killer for me, it's like a huge letdown whenever it's this killer. I'm like, oh man. Well, I'm probably losing this game. I don't like to have that defeatist attitude, but honestly, when I face this killer, that's just how it seems to turn out like 90% of the time, and that is the hag. And basically, whenever you face a hag, there's almost always a hex ruin on there, and a hag with a hex ruin is just my kryptonite. It's really my kryptonite to the max. I mean, I do not know how to play against a hag with a hex ruin, because for me it just completely stalls my entire game, because my playstyle, I like to sneak around, do gens, and get the hell out of there as soon as possible. The hag completely changes that for me, and it completely ruins my entire playstyle, because I'm not, one of those survivors that likes to, run the killer around, distract them. Like, I don't like to play that way. I do, like to play some altruism a little bit and try to help my teammates out, but for the most part, I'm mostly an objective survivor, and I try to go for the objectives. The hack completely takes that away from me. It completely takes away what I'm good at, and I knock out gens. Especially I use tap a lot. Tap is great at getting those gens done for me, especially with his Detective's Hunch perk. It's a great perk for getting those gens done, and it completely takes that away from me. So for the first part of the game, I'm literally just sitting there like, I'm completely useless here. I can't do gens. Like, yes, I could tap them, but I mean, that's so freaking slow to do that. And it just completely ruins my game. And until that hex ruin is down, I can't really play. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. Like, it completely destroys my entire game. And until that ruin's down, I can't do a thing. So.
Well then, yeah, I get that. No, I get that. She can definitely be overwhelming if you're not crouching. If you don't have urban evasion as a perk as a survivor, because it becomes obviously a normal walk of speed, so you can get there. It can take some time. She is a kryptonite for many. I can understand why she is incredibly annoying.
Yeah, and I'll make the point too that like it's not just the ruin itself, because obviously any killer can use ruin, but her with ruin is even more deadly because she can place down those traps and just teleport to you, and it just makes it so much more frustrating to go around the map looking for ruin, because at any moment you could stumble upon a trap you didn't know was coming. Like, oh damn, there's the hag teleporting there. I got to run this way now. Like it's just so frustrating, and it's just a mental thing. It's like, oh man, like so. If there was ever a killer that would make me want to rage quit, it's always the hag. Like, whenever I see it's a hag, like, mentally, I want to check out of that game instantly, but I just power through it anyways. But I'm like, oh man, this game is going to suck so bad.
No, I get it, man. I get it. She is a nuisance. Yeah. Hands down a fear factor for sure. Her Mori's probably the best in the game, too.
Well, and especially the ranks I play at, too, 10 to 20, like, you can have some hags that are a lot better than, they should be at 10 to 20, because she's not that hard to learn, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, I get it. Interesting ranks.
Yeah, so.
There you have it.
So there's our ranks. So, quickly, I'll run through my list again real quick. So, my list is 16 is Nightmare, 15 is Trapper, 14 is Cannibal, 13 is Clown, 12 is Spirit, 11 is Plague, 10 is Ghostface, 9 is the Nurse, 8 is the Doctor, 7 is Legion, 6 is the Pig, 5 is the Wraith, 4 is Huntress, 3 is Shape, 2 is the Hillbilly, and number 1 for me is the Hag. And how about yours?
So we're looking at, starting from 17, correct?
16.
16. So we got Freddy at 16. We got the Wraith at 15. We got 14, the Plague. We got 13 Doc, 12 Pig, Trapper at 11. Did I get that right? Yeah. Right? 11?
Yep,
yeah,
11.
So. Yeah. 10, we got the Leatherface, Hag at 9, 8 at Legion, 7 at Huntress, Clown at 6, 5 Spirit, 4 Ghostface, 3 Michael Myers, 2 Hillbilly, number 1, the Nurse.
Fair enough. I think we had some good lists there, and I do really like how Hillbilly and Shape made it into the top 3 of our list with completely different factors being looked at. So I think that says a lot for those killers.
Yeah, it does. They definitely stand out. So.
And, you're number 1, the Nurse. I mean, for me, it'd be a lot higher if people 10 to 20 knew how to play it better, but no one really seems to know how to play it 10 to 20, so for me, it's like, whatever.
Yeah. It's rare. Like I said, at 70-30, they're probably going to suck. But that 30%, man, when you get it hard, and they finish you off pretty fast.
Fair enough. So, hopefully, people enjoyed our rankings, and I'm sure they're going to disagree with every single one of them, but that's fair enough. Tell us your rankings as well. Get a hold of us. If people do want to get a hold of you, how can they do that, ACC?
You can get a hold of me at Mixer. I'm on Mixer at ACC_. You can catch me up on Twitter at ACC_streams. Come check me out. We're doing a big thing. It's been a popular thing. We're doing Debunk 4 Saturday on the 13th of July, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Come check us out. We watch a bunch of videos and we put our take if we believe these ghost videos or not. We definitely, majority of the time, have a laugh of it. It's a big social event. We all get together and just have a good time. Some people get freaked out at something, some others say no, but we all have a good time either way. Come check us out July 13th, this Saturday. Debunk 4.
Yeah, I'll definitely say it's a lot of fun to check out. I did catch a good chunk of the Debunk 2, and I did enjoy that a lot. So definitely check that out, guys, if you want to see some cool ghost stuff and see if it's real or not.
Yeah, we do a monthly thing of it. Everyone submits, so the community submits videos. We've got a boatload of videos being submitted. So Friday there will be no stream because I got to look at all the videos, put them together in order. It's going to be a long one, but everyone wanted it longer because it's just so much fun. We all interact, we all have a laugh, we're all together. That's the point of all this. It's super fun. So that's where you can check me out, man.
Sounds good, and I would definitely say drop him a follow, guys. He's one of the best streamers I know, and he's one of the few streamers on Mixer that I support wholeheartedly. So definitely appreciate you guys dropping the follow if you want to head over there. You will see me over there as much as I'm available, and he is usually a raid victim of mine, so come be victimized with me.
Still recovering from the last one. Thank you for that, brother. I appreciate it, man.
No problem. But just quickly to recap, our next podcast is going to be next Saturday, probably about State of Decay 2. I just got to decide what topic I want to do because there's several topics Heartland related that I want to cover. I just have to decide which one I want to do first. Our next stream is going to be Sunday, 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern for Borderlands 2. And we're also going to do a Monday stream, 12 to 4 Eastern. It's probably going to be Borderlands 2. It just depends. That Sunday stream, we may actually finish the story of Borderlands 2. So if you want to see the ending of the story, I would definitely suggest checking out that Sunday stream because we are close enough that we might finish it Sunday. If we don't finish it, we'll do the stream on Monday. If we do end up finishing Borderlands 2 on Sunday, what we're going to do on Monday is start episode 1 of Tales from the Borderlands, which I know ACC has played. He enjoyed it as well, so he can vouch for me as well that it is a lot of fun to watch that game.
Definitely the funniest out of all of them, too. It's just super interactive.
Yeah, so we're starting that soon. So if it doesn't start on Monday, then it'll be the week after that I start that. But Tuesday is my State of Decay doubleheader. I usually have a doubleheader every week where I do State of Decay during the day and then at night. So 12 to 4 Eastern, I'm doing State of Decay. And then also on Tuesday, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, I'm doing State of Decay as well. So I might have a speed run of Heartland in there. I might go for my final achievements if I don't have it yet for Heartland. Or I might just, do some Daybreak or something. So I always kind of change it up with that, but it'll be some kind of State of Decay content. So in order to find me, you can find me via email, theblaisexperience@gmail.com. You can find me on Mixer as well at mixer.com/blaisexperience. You can find me on Twitter or my Xbox gamer tag at blaisexperience, capital BLAISE, capital XPERIENCE. And you can also find me on Discord, which is going to be in the show notes, so check out that. I am on Facebook and YouTube, but I always say that I don't interact on there as often. So if you do interact with me on Facebook and YouTube, I definitely appreciate it. Just it'll take me a little bit longer to get back to you because I only check those about maybe once a week. Whereas like Twitter and Discord, I check pretty much every day. So those are the fastest ways to get a hold of me. If you aren't listening to the podcast already, well, obviously listen to this one. But other ways you can find the podcast are going to be on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Blueberry, Podbean, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, or iTunes, and many of the directories. So essentially, if you just type into your search bar the Blaise Experience, you'll find us somewhere, and just watch us on or listen to us on whatever platform you prefer. I say watch because we are on YouTube as well. So if you like the YouTube platform, then definitely check us out there as well, and you'll find the podcast in audio/video form there. And the last option I have is if you are someone that doesn't like apps at all, then I do have another option for you that if you want to join my Discord, in my Discord there's a special channel with direct download links that will directly download whatever podcast you want to hear. It has all the podcasts I've ever done. All you have to do is just click the link. It'll directly download it to your phone or computer, whatever device you're using. So if you don't want to have any other apps taking up space in your phone, just download whatever podcast you want directly from there. But ACC, I definitely appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming back with me. We'll definitely do another Dead by Daylight episode at some point soon. Maybe we'll talk about like a perk rankings or something like that. We'll have to get together and figure out what to do. But I'm thinking like something to do with perks would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, sounds good, man. And always, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's a lot of fun to talk to you all the time. So definitely fun to go through our lists, and hopefully people enjoyed our lists and liked our different strategies for ranking those.
Yeah, man, it was super fun. Hope you all enjoyed it. I look forward to the next one.
Same here. And thank you very much for listening to the Blaise Experience.